trade deadline rolling up, and Corey, you had asked this yesterday, but we got into a whole different thing about the Mavericks. Would you expect them to make little move, big move, no move prior to the trade deadline? Not what you want, but what you actually expect to happen.
Well, and I think, Mike, I told you this Monday or maybe sometime last week while Kevin was out with his significant throat injury. It
really hurt.
The Mavericks are, if they make a small move, it's not going to be good enough.
Sure.
Like it'll be insignificant. It'll be no step in any direction for me as a fan, because a small move I'm used to them doing those kind of things. Now, the Kristaps trade was a significant, massive move. There were just a lot of question marks that went into it in the first place. The trade to trade away Kristaps and bring in Dinwiddie was underwhelming for a lot of people. But a lot of people are looking at Dinwiddie, and they're pretty happy that they have him right now. I don't know, like, if anybody really respects or loves the Dinwiddie being here. As much as maybe I do, I really like Dinwiddie a lot. But I think at the time people were like, meh, you didn't get anything out of Kristaps. So I think small moves, it's like, if you made, I don't know how significant it would be if you traded DFS for Malik Beasley. Does that change your team that much?
I don't think.
You get worse, honestly.
Yeah.
So
that's
that's
opinion.
And
but
that's
if you're getting a first-round pick, they have 3 first-round picks. And so I know I'm interrupting you here, Corey, but the Mavericks are in a little bit of a tough situation. I think that Mark Cuban is once again going to do the one thing that he said is the worst thing to be, and that is a middle-of-the-road NBA team, a team that has really no chance of winning at all, but no chance of getting a top pick to change your franchise's course. And that's, I think, the pick that Mark Cuban has told Nico he has to choose. Because the best thing to do is either go all in, which is very tough to do because you don't have assets to really go all in, or to go all out. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Paul Pierce is not Luka Doncic. Paul Pierce was never close to Luka. But what they said is, you know what? We're tired of barely making the playoffs. We're going to tank. Now, they were tanking for Greg Oden, and it didn't work out.
Hell yeah.
And they didn't also get the second pick in getting Kevin Durant. So what they did in tanking with a all-star player on their team is, and they're like, all right, we tanked, and it didn't work out for
what they ended up doing
for
instead.
Kevin Garnett and for Ray Allen. And they ended up being a team that won a championship, going to another one and losing. I think at this point, Nico needs to, but they won't do this because Mark Cuban won't allow him. Trade Dorian Finney-Smith, trade Dinwiddie, trade anything that has any sort of value. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a negative value. You're going to have to take back crap to get rid of him because every team sees that that's a horrible contract that Mark Cuban did. So I think that that's the road they should go down, but Mark Cuban will not allow that to happen.
And Kevin, so y'all were kind of discussing this a little bit yesterday, and man, like I don't know the structure. I feel like the structure is everything has to come across my desk first.
Yeah.
But I also feel like in this instance, you got to bring something to the table that not only satisfies that, but also like turns him into you can't not make this decision. And that's where I feel like as much as wherever Mark is in certain situations, Nico has to have the pitch that is either we're doing this or this, and I've found the deal. We're making this deal. This is what we want to do. Otherwise, I can't work here and do this anymore. You want this done or not? And, I mean, because otherwise it looks real bad on Nico in a couple of years of trying to build this thing and him not having any leverage in trades or anything. Look, you put me with a bad hand. I got to make something happen. So this might be one of those do and then ask for forgiveness later kind of situations if I'm Nico, unless he's perfectly fine just floating where they are. And that would be a very insufferable thing for me as a Mavericks fan.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that came to concern for me was a couple weeks ago when we had talked about Reggie Bullock for Cam Reddish, right? Now it's like, all right, swap out 2 parts that can't shoot right now.
Right, yeah.
But in my mind, I at least thought, all right, I don't think it's going to work out. But I was at least interested in, are the Mavs trying to get a 23-year-old? And they're like, you know what? Let's work with him. Let's see what we can do. And then you found out like 5 seconds later, it's like, no, it's just less money. And they're just trying to get off the money because I'm okay with them making a small move or maybe even a couple of small moves to get those young players that maybe haven't worked out yet, but you're like, you know what? I think he's got something and maybe we can develop it. But it feels like that is not their philosophy.
Would you do the Reggie Bullock for Cam Reddish? I mean, he's a young guy. He's 23 or 24.
Personally, I would, because I think but I mean, I've been the biggest advocate telling you Cam Reddish cannot shoot. But at least
want to get paid, or am I wrong about that?
I don't think he is going to get paid. Like, he's out of contract, but I know he has high ideals of his worth. It ain't going to work out for him, just like it hadn't worked out getting starting time. But I would love for them to have the opportunity to be like, let's see what this young kid does, just like with Hardy, just like with Green. They're not all going to work out, but at least you can maybe develop your own tangible assets. If we can't hold our draft picks or feel like we have to trade them, let's develop different assets.
And I don't know this either. I don't think Mark Cuban will allow this, and I don't think Jason Kidd wants to go down this path. After the trade deadline is over, in my opinion, is they will do absolutely nothing. It's going to be the exact same team today that it will be after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Don't play Tim Hardaway Jr. anymore. He's worthless. He is a negative player. He is Joey Gallo in your lineup. Yes, 1 out of 5 games, Joey Gallo could be really good. But the problem is, what do you do with the other 80% of the games that Tim Hardaway Jr. is a bad shooter, takes bad shots, doesn't understand where we are in the game, doesn't see who has the hot hand in the game, can't play defense or refuses to play defense? So we're giving these minutes to Jaden Hardy. We're giving these minutes to Josh Green. We're giving these minutes to somebody else who might be able to develop into a player, because you have proven you are too inconsistent to be nice about Tim Hardaway Jr. You're too inconsistent to try to play.
In our conversations, Mike, Kevin, we had Josh Green on yesterday. We had Hardaway on a few weeks back. Christian Wood's been on with us. Mavericks love being on our show.
Jason Kidd's been on with us multiple times.
Yeah,
and Nico has as well.
With that part of it, every time we've asked about last year versus this year, what do y'all hear? Because I hear one thing. It is, hey, look, we're kind of at the same point. Last year, we had a tough stretch when we started the season, and then we picked up as we went along. And we're kind of hearing the same thing out of these guys this year, like, hey, look, if we can just get to the end of the season in playoff position, we're going to be great. Like, it feels like they don't feel any pressure about the regular season right now.
So Josh Green, one of his last answers I did not like whatsoever. I thought he was fantastic, but I felt like Mike was, I know, Mike, you asked questions intentionally, and I thought it was a good question, is like, hey, I think your top 3 problems right now are defense, rebounding, and I think free throw shooting. Maybe was that the 3?
Yeah, those were the 3.
Yeah, and he said, oh yeah, those are all fixable. And it just felt like a moment of, well, that's a big ass part of the game, and what we need to do first is focus on like free throw shooting or whatever. And it felt like the sock kind of, oh yeah, no, I still think we can improve all of those things, that you're like, okay, I hope you're right, but that's a lot.
But how?
Yes,
and
yes.
The other thing, too, is I think they're lying to themselves, because this is what we like to do. Well, it worked out in the end last time.
Right.
Like, hey, you know what I did to my wife? I don't want to get marked on this. I'm making this up, but like, hey, I did this to my wife and she still stayed with me, so I can just do it again and she'll stay with me again. It's like, no, I don't think that.
Yeah.
The case that every time it's worked out, like last year, I did these horrible things to my kids and they still love me, so I'm just going to do these horrible things to my kids again, and I bet they'll still love me in the end. It's like, I don't think last year Dorian Finney-Smith, after the trade deadline, became a much better player. Unfortunately, he's kind of reverted back to the player that he was, not the player that he became. And then Jalen Brunson improved to an all-star. Like, he improved to a very, very good player in the second half of the season that you didn't see coming. You also made a trade where Dinwiddie and Bertans helped you out in different ways. Obviously, Dinwiddie way more than Bertans, but Porzingis once again was kind of hurt last year, so you were getting inconsistent gameplay from him because of his injury history again. So there was a lot of things that added up to, why did the Mavs play better in the second half? Why did the Mavs go on a playoff run? Another positive was, and the Mavericks are questioning this too, Another one was Tim Hardaway Jr. got hurt. That was probably a positive rather than a negative. They saw it as a negative when it happened, but it became a positive that they didn't have to play Tim Hardaway Jr. anymore. So I don't see all of those things coming together for the Mavs in this second half. Who's going to be Jalen Brunson in the second half? Maybe it's Josh Green. That's your hope. Josh Green improves to Jalen Brunson-like levels. Dorian Finney-Smith starts playing a lot better than what he's played this year.
And that's a big jump. I was just looking at it. I don't know if we want to get into this in the future or anything like that, but The Ringer put out their updated player rankings, top 100 in the NBA. They have Jalen Brunson at number 50. So we're talking, that's a lot of damn ground to have to make up. Even if Jalen Brunson has clearly gotten even better this year, but still, it would be a remarkable jump if Green became one of the top 75 players in the NBA before the end of the season.
So you're saying that by next year, Josh Green will be in the top 50, according to The Ringer. Is that what you're suggesting?
No, because he'll still be
Hardy
here.
moves in, and then we have 3 top 50 players.
And they got Christian Wood at 80 and Spencer Dinwiddie at 82. I'll tell you, if some freak of nature happens and both of those other guys get into the top 50, hell yeah, let's jam. I can rock along with that lineup.